So.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Milman Podcast. I have my brother, Avi Milman. Avi, what up?
Hey, how's it going?
And we have a very, very special guest, Decarlo Johnson.
Hey, what's up, man?
How's it going? Thank you for being with us today. Now, the way we know Decarlo is actually really, really interesting. We met you actually at the gym.
Yeah.
Decarlo teaches one of those classes. Decarlo, can you explain what kind of a class that is?
Well, there's a total body, high adrenaline pump class. You keep going until you sweat and you can't feel your legs anymore.
Yes.
That's exactly what happens to me, yeah.
So basically the way we got into this class is, we decided that we wanted to work out on our core. I personally needed more stamina. That's, and yeah, lifting weights is cool, but this is like a whole nother level. And Decarlo, what I like about you, I was in the class just minding my own business, and there's mostly women in the class. And then Decarlo, you come up to me with like heavier weights, and you give it to me. You know what I mean? And I like that you give us that challenge. So tell us, how did you get into all of this, and how old were you? When did you become such a health conscious person?
That's a good question. I played sports most of my life, growing up from as far as I can remember. But I really got into fitness, say at the age of 17, getting out of high school. I was playing baseball. I was having some knee problems, and I went to get my knee checked out, and they said, hey, look, just go to the gym and strengthen up your knee. And it all started from there. I went to the gym, and I went from trying to strengthen up my legs to everything else. And what really inspired me was the first compliment I got. I went from a few days a week to every day. And from ever since, I've been in the gym.
So you work out 7 days a week?
Yeah, I used to. Yes.
How about now?
That's a...
Now, Avi, when you look at him, does he look out of shape to you?
Just a little bit.
No, seriously.
No, he looks like he's in the best shape of his life.
But he's telling me, like, we had a chat before we started, and he told me that he's actually not in the best shape of his life. So, Decarlo, can you explain to us how that happened and why you feel this way?
I used to, before I came to America, I used to train a lot. I trained sometimes twice a day. And I played baseball, basketball, mixed martial arts. And I did, obviously weight training in the gym. The early morning sessions, so I trained a lot more. Now, I work a lot more, but by the time I'm done working, my body's shot sometimes, and then my eating is off. I don't know. It's just not the same flow that I used to have.
It's interesting because I have a couple of friends that also, they're very into fitness, but when I talk to them, they're like, oh, Mike, I'm eating donuts and pizza. I'm eating like crap. And I'm like, really? You don't look like it. And then somebody like me, I have some body fat that I'm trying to get rid of. And it's hard because even if I'm on a nice diet where I cut out carbs and sugar, it really takes a while, like 3 weeks to see some results, right? And I've been trying to do a lot of that intermittent fasting. And I know that you said, like, before the podcast started, you were going on a 5-day fast. You want to address that?
Yeah. I wouldn't really call it a New Year's resolution, but I said from coming into the year that I'm going to do it every year, that I'm going to do every quarter fasting. And I increase the amount of days every quarter. So January 1st, I did 3 days. I'm about to do 5 days. The next one is 7, and my last one will be 10 days, which is water, tea, and vitamins.
Damn, that's crazy.
But herbal vitamins. Yeah.
Avi, is that something you could have done?
Hell no.
So I have a friend who's also obsessed with fasting, and he goes on a lot of fasts where I'm like, whoa, how do you do this? The most I could have done was 1 day a week, and then I do intermittent fasting, where I'll eat in the morning, I'll eat in the afternoon, and then at night I won't eat. And if I do get hungry, I'll just have a glass of oat milk. But you got to be careful what kind of oat milk you buy.
Right.
I pick with no sugar, no flavors, none of that sweeteners or whatever. People get confused and they buy the wrong one, and they're like, oh, this tastes so good, but there's a good reason why it tastes so good. So look, Decarlo and I, actually Avi also, like Avi and I are 5 years apart, but Decarlo told me he's only 2 years younger. What year were you born?
87.
87. Oh, so what month is your birthday?
May 7th.
Oh, May 7th. Okay, I just turned 36. That means I'm only a year older than you. You're going to turn 35. But when, I don't know. Okay, Avi, you're 30, right? So you're going to be 31. Maybe you don't feel it yet, but I don't know if you could relate that in our 30s, we start to feel these changes in our body, right?
Oh, in every joint.
Right?
Oh, you feel it.
But when I started doing your class, I felt like I was working out muscles in my body that I never even knew existed. And the core workout is like extremely important, especially for 20 years down the line. When you're older, you're actually going to be more. You're going to feel better, right?
Oh, 100%.
Like my legs right now feel stronger. When I worked out in the gym, like regular lifting,
right,
I'll always get hurt, or I feel like my knee would feel weird the next day. Like now, I was like, damn. There was times where I felt like I was literally going to pass out at least 3-4 times throughout the class. But I love that challenge, though. It's really an amazing class.
Good, thanks.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I feel the same way. Like when I was in your class, there was a lot of times I had to excuse myself because I thought I was gonna throw up. And I remember you were cool because I came up to you in the end of the class and I'm like, look, man, I love your class, but I hope you don't mind if I slack here and there. And it's gonna take time. As long as I'm persistent and consistent, I think it'll take time. And I felt like by the third, fourth time I came, I felt like I was excusing myself a little less, still excusing myself, but it's going to take time to get there,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's so important the older you get, because, all right, when we're in our 20s or teenage years and 20s, we don't feel the negative impact bad food has on us, or lack of sleep has on us, or partying too much has on us. We're starting to feel these things in our 30s, and I don't want to make the mistake that other people make, where when they're in their 50s, they're like, ow, ooh, ah, I want to like do it now, correct all this now. And, that way I feel like for instance, you, right? Do you think, do you think you could feel young with this lifestyle? Like, can you feel like you're in your 20s if you keep this lifestyle of working out, eating right, things like that?
Oh, 100%. One of the most important thing is knowing how to eat right. A lot of times we are taught wrong, or we learn wrong on how to eat right. For example, a lot of women come to me and they said, hey, I eat this 100-calorie bar. They said it's really healthy for you. I was like, okay, you see the front of it where it says 100 calories, but did you read the ingredients itself and see what's in it? A lot of times, we just look at the face of it, but not understanding what's on the inside. But as you really look at the ingredients, that's where the major problem is. And like anything else, I think we should eat for purpose, not pleasure. And don't be fooled by the front of these things and what we think is important to us. But do your own research on the food that you intake. As I am a believer that, look, if you want the best for your kids, you should want the best for yourself.
Yeah. I met a woman once, and she told me that, she says, if something has more than like 3 ingredients, you shouldn't be eating it. And I think what happens a lot of times with these dietary bars is that they say, oh, it's only 100 calories. It's only 60 calories. So you're thinking, oh, this is a no-brainer. I should eat it. But when you look at the ingredients, it says red 78. What the hell is that? Okay, and then I heard one of the biggest problems we have are these chemicals in the food. And in my opinion, bad food with these ingredients are no better than drugs. Okay, and I felt like for the longest time I was an addict when it comes to bad food.
I just try to stick along as close as I can to just vegetables. I do eat fish, mostly fish, and chicken, and I try to stick along with that line. But most of the food that I eat, I try to get it vegan, vegetarian type meat, so that I can actually stick within the lines of still vegan and vegetables. But again, we are misguided to what we think is the best way to eat. You know, there's like people say, "Oh well, I had lettuce and tomatoes in my burger." Look at the size of the beef burger and look at the bread, look at the dressing.
Yeah.
You know, 2 slices of bread is actually 10 cubes of sugar. So eating 2-3 slices of bread can actually raise your insulin level pretty high.
I heard there's a lot of sugar in bread.
A lot of
People don't
it.
even realize that. And the sauce, mayonnaise, all that kind of stuff, soda. I wanted to talk about part of in the class that you do, the body core class. After you give us like 5 to 7 minutes or so, and you like it's like a relaxation period where you give us kind of like a motivational talk.
Right.
And so, where do you get that kind of inspiration yourself? You know, where you learn it from, and then because like sometimes I'm like, wow, like you say some real and it's about like life and relationships and just sometimes it helps me also like take out the stuff that you do in your day to day and kind of look at it from a different perspective, kind of like outside the box, like looking at it through a window.
Right.
And it kind of helps you like, all right, go like approach it in a different way,
Right.
like your daily day in and day out. So how do you prepare for that? Because the class itself, there's no break, one after another. We do different
Keep
forms
going,
and
right.
everything like that. So with your busy schedule, what gives you the motivation, inspiration to find because I saw you like reading also, everyone had like their eyes closed and you were like
Right.
reading from your phone. Like where do you get your
I think I love quotes. I read my Bible every morning. I do my morning devotion every morning. I pray every morning before I get my day started. And I made a promise to myself years ago that I will encourage at least one person a day. One. No matter what. Even if I'm home all day and I'm talking to a friend, I still want to lead them with some form of encouragement. And we go through the entire day just going. I never took a second to just relax. And just relax in the moment itself. So you go from class, your heart is racing. Oh my God. Oh, it's so good. I'm so tired. You go home and you deal with another set of stress. And you deal with all sorts of other pressure. And so for me, I want to slow you down before you get to that point. Because now it's easier for you to answer questions or deal with situations when you're in a better state of mind. And so along with my encouragement and relaxation to get you to slow down, that's why I got the combination from right at the end of it. I usually do 10 minutes. I get you to breathe first, control, relax. Once your breathing starts to get under control, I listen to motivational speaking every day. I read quotes every day. In 2020, I read 127 books in 2020, audiobooks. I'm not a guy to sit there and read a book. I didn't have time. I was too busy. My morning would start at 3:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock sometimes, in 2020. Even though we were going to the pandemic.
So, what time would you go to bed if you woke up so early?
It depends. It could be 11, 12.
So that's that. But here's what I'm confused about. I thought we need at least 6 hours of sleep, if not 7, 8.
That's what they taught you. If some people can survive off of 5 hours, some can survive off of 6. Now, based on what you put in your body and what's on your mind, you get the proper sleep or you don't. That's why if you eat something right before bed and you wake up, you usually wake up with a headache or still tired because your body took half of the night trying to digest what it is that you just put into your body. So there is your sleeping metabolism and there's your metabolic metabolism. One shuts off, which means now the other one has to cut in and work harder because one of your metabolisms are off. But if you're awake and you're moving around, you have both of them, which helps you digest it a lot faster. Yeah. And so it's important that you, as I tell people, eat something very light. Don't eat any carbs. If you are hungry, drink some water or make a smoothie. Smoothie with none dairy inside of it. Try to stay away from all the dairy.
What about like the sugar in the smoothie, like fruits? Don't they have a lot of sugar?
And so my ratio is 2 vegetables to 1 fruit. Like if I have spinach and celery, you can put a green apple or maybe a mango or something in it. You know what I'm saying?
You know, it's crazy, man, because you know these things sometimes, but then when you have a conversation with somebody, you're like, whoa, this is logical, and I didn't even put that together. Like, I knew that it's not good to eat before bed because your body needs to focus on healing. And if you're eating, then it's like, wait, before I work on the healing, now I gotta first process this food.
Right.
So it's like working extra hard. But you said something real right now, like, well, I don't need 8 hours of sleep because I don't need anything before bed. So my body shuts down. It's just focused on the healing part. It doesn't have to, there's no food for it to digest.
Right.
I'm like, whoa, that you make a good point. So with that said, then yeah, I guess that, well, look, man, I don't know if I could do 3 hours of sleep.
No, don't be wrong.
I need at least 6. If not
yeah,
7.
I mean 5, 6 is ideal. You know what I'm saying? I just go to bed late. Again, I go to bed. I'm a believer that the last thing you put in your mind would be the one thing that would be running through your mind the most while you sleep.
That's true, yeah.
It's like watching a horror movie. What do you think you're going to dream about? The horror movie. That was the last thing you watched,
Also, your brain activity is still going to be kind of like on while you're
Right.
sleeping.
Exactly.
It's like if I use my phone a lot and I just pass out,
Mm-hmm.
then I feel like I'm not really getting a strong sleep,
That's one thing too, because the light from the phone actually, because we are in sync with the moon. That's why at certain times at night we go to sleep, because the moon is at a certain point for us and we go to sleep. So having that bright light in your eyes actually affects your sleep as well too. So that's why I have people, for the most part, do not watch TV 30 minutes to an hour before bed and do not look at your phone.
Damn, I got a lot of work to do on my life, man, because I love passing out to a TV show. That's one of my hobbies, but hey, you have to make sacrifices for the greater good, for the greater lifestyle.
100%, man. I'm a believer that in order to gain something, you have to sacrifice something else. You can't, it's like if I need to make money, I have to sacrifice time.
Time is very valuable.
It is. So some people waste time and they get nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And some people sacrifice the time to gain something, or they would say use the time. Because you can get anything. Money, you can go bankrupt and still come back. Yeah. You can lose food and get more food again. You can lose so many things, but you could never get your time back. Ever.
I started thinking about recently, throughout the day, when I'm on my phone, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, it goes by so fast.
Right.
And I'm thinking like if I cut half that time where I'm just like slacking or like being lazy and not looking at my phone, I wonder how much more I could accomplish. It's kind of like when we were waiting for something yesterday, Mike, and like 2 minutes went by like that.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, damn, that's crazy. Like time flies by,
Oh, it
especially when
does.
you're older, right? Like we're in our 30s, late 30s.
I can't believe you're in your 30s though.
I know.
Like I look at him, I think he's like 25.
I know, but I feel like when I turned 30, I got this like, whoa, like a lot of things like in my mind changed for the better.
you
But
said
like
that, yeah.
just there was like a switch.
Oh yeah, you start to realize like, yo, in 10 years I'm about to be 40. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it becomes real after that. But yeah, I get you, man. It's 30s is a very, I would say to me, it's a very awakening time period in your life. I understand the whole in the 20s, you do this, you do that. I don't necessarily believe that. I believe your 20s is actually, should be a starting point to what you need to do when you get in your 30s. You should already be in it. Not saying that you're wrong if you're just starting in your 30s. But if I could do it again and I was living with my parents, I would have made all the mistakes of starting businesses and trial and error of things I want to do in my life while I have the cushion of going back to my parents, right in the bed without paying any bills.
But here's the problem with that, and I totally agree with you. But society, I feel like doesn't guide us that way. Like we're not pushed to make those your 20s, and then we end up being in like that system.
Right. I think it also has a lot to do with culture. Society where we grow up is one thing, but I went to a gala the other night and it's Sikhs, and these are guys who are actually with Fortune, like these companies that make millions. One of the guys, he had cards.com, and he said the company did over 400 million, and this is in less than 2 years. I'm like,
Cars, that's a huge company.
yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? So he's one of the co-founders, and another guy, he has a venture capital company. The other one, he was the CGO for the Uber Eats. Was another guy, but these guys are young, and it was amazing. They asked him certain questions like, what were your obstacles? How did you get there? Did you knew you wanted to do this? And every single one of them said no. They did not know they was going to be where they were at. So the fact that they're under 40 and they made that type of success, the one thing is you just have to be persistent, and you got to keep trying.
First of all, I want to say this. If you need some inspiration, you got to watch the movie The Founder with Michael Keaton.
I watched that.
Did you watch
it?
it?
I watched that, man.
All right, so here's what I'm going to say. I saw it, was in love,
Very
obsessed
crook.
with the movie.
Yeah.
And then one time I was feeling down and I needed some inspiration. I saw the movie again. And it's a great movie. But what I will say as far as culture goes, I think culture definitely has something to do with it, but it also has a lot to do with parenting. For instance, when you look at Asian folks, right, whether it's Chinese or Indian, right, but not American. I'm talking about people that are coming here. They're pushing their kids to education. But I think the culture in America, oh, you're in your 20s, have fun, party,
Right.
Whatever. And then when you go to school and college is important. Like, when I went to college, I felt like it just changed the way I think and view things. It just changed me in a positive way, I believe. But I feel like college also needs to do a better job, or maybe the kids need to do a better job searching how to, learn to be more fiscally responsible. Instead of like buying something expensive, how to invest that money instead. Think about the future. Instead of focusing in your 20s on how to party and have fun, and then you could settle down later, do that now, so then when you're in your 30s, 40s, you're more settled in. What do you think about that?
To me, I think it's more of a balance, right? Whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, I think it's about balance. Yes, you should work very hard, but at the same time, I think there should be some fun, right? Not fun to say do stupid things, but some time for you, enjoy you, because you will never be 21 again. You will never be
That
22
is
or
true.
23 again.
Yeah.
So in those moments and times, I think you should enjoy those times and moments, but prioritize things when need to be prioritized. I read the book Seven Highly Effective Habits of People by Steve Covey, and he talked about things that are urgent and things that are important. And a lot of times people get not so important things with important things mixed up. Getting your nails done is not the same thing as paying your bill. Yes, you're gonna go out. Oh, I can't go out looking like this. Hey, look, man, I need to buy these certain pairs of shoes, so I need to spend the money on this because I don't think I look right walking in the streets. But you need to spend the money on that education so that you will be able to demand more money. So it's a matter of what is urgent, what is important, and what is not so urgent. And so once people understand prioritizing what is supposed to be prioritized and how it's supposed to be prioritized, I think that would help their life be more effective and efficiently. That's
Well, what I always say is life is all about balance. All about balance. I always preach this. I always say this. Like, I don't want to really get into politics, but when people are talking political, I always say it's very important to have a balance because there's an appropriate time to be liberal, there's an appropriate time to be conservative,
right.
and you need that balance. Like, you're not going to wash your hands with boiling hot water, and you're not going to wash your hands with ice cold water. You're going to wash it with warm water,
Right.
and everything's about balance. So I agree with you. Even though we need to focus on education and we need to focus on how to be more fiscally responsible so we could set our future up in our 30s and 40s to be better off, we should still have fun as young adults, right? Like, we should.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You don't want to.
If you look at most of the ones, that's just me. I'm not saying it to be rude to anyone, but if you see a lot of the ones who are actually so much into the books, they are really very awkwardly social.
Yeah.
They have no social skills, know how to talk to people, and they just to the outside world or to everyone else, not outside world, but to everyone else, they would seem weird. They would be so smart, but they want to be a cartoon character because that's their way of expressing themselves. Because that's the only way they know how to identify, themselves. So to me, I think that's why I say it's balance of have your time with friends and family and the things around you so that you're still enjoying your life as you go, not just in the book. I want to be the best as you will become the best at, but something happens to you, someone else will take your place either way.
Yeah. Do you think that whole being like socially awkward, especially like when you're in college or high school, you think that's part of like even genetics? Like it comes like maybe from your parents? Because how does someone there's the kid that is like popular or could make relationships, and then there's that person that, like you said, is always in the books. So do you think you could like I guess your kid will, if you're like that and then your spouse is like that, your kid might be like that too, right? But like how do you, if you see your kid is like that, how do you kind of get them to become a little more open?
It's hard to say when you I think, all right, to start off to answer your question, I think just exposing them to more things. Like, for example, if you see they're in their books a lot, but you want to really get them to open up, to be more social, apply them to different sports. It can be simple as dancing, hip-hop dancing. Allow them to socialize based on particular environments. It can be putting them into music class and let them socialize with them. So I think you should just adapt with what you see the child is good with. And kids do actually watch everything that you do. They may not say they're going to do what you're going to do, but it really they really do mimic you. I'll give you an example. My daughter, when she was 2 years old, I straightened up a bag of chips and I put it up to slide the rest of my mouth. And she did the exact same thing when she had hers. She straightened the bag out and she did the same thing. I was like, wow, she really watches everything that I do. I would sit down with my leg crossed a particular way. She would sit there and cross her leg a particular way, I got up and I spit something out of my mouth in the car. She got out of the car. She spit, she spit out of her mouth, even though there was nothing in her mouth. She spit it because she saw me did it.
Yeah.
So I do think consciously and subconsciously, kids does actually watch and mimic their environment.
And I know that when they're a certain age, their brains are like a sponge.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the best time to really teach them languages and all that kind of. Like, that's why
That's why you have to be the best role model.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My daughter's bilingual right now. She speaks Spanish and English. She's a bit lazy in Spanish, but she speaks it, and she's 4.
That's awesome.
And to answer your question from before, I think it's a lot to do with nature versus nurture. I think, but I also believe that some kids are born like when I was younger as a kid, I think I was naturally shy. I was afraid to play with the other kids, and then I kind of grew out of that. And I remember I had a crush on this girl when I was 12, and then she kind of rejected me, and she broke my heart. So when that happened, I was afraid of girls throughout junior high school and high school.
It's
For
normal,
me to
yeah.
get that courage to talk to girls again,
Right.
it only happened in
Oh, you were kind of
college.
saying that earlier.
Oh, it really does. That pain, that trauma. I was shy for a very long time. Back to, I'm going to reiterate what you said when you say sometimes it comes from the parents. So I was very, very shy growing up. And then when I actually had different times that I spoke to my parents, they also said they had times when they were very shy. They wouldn't say anything to anybody. My mother says she was very shy. Like, she wouldn't say anything. And so I think that certain things are innately in people.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's possible with certain things, but sometimes you do actually go through the same phases that your parent or your parents went through. You know what I'm saying? In many different cases. So I do think
But I think the outcome could be different. Would be different because, like, our parents didn't grow up here.
right.
So they grew up in a completely different world. Where are your parents from?
Bahamas.
Bahamas. So
Yeah.
they, and now the Bahamas versus back then also probably different time. So
Mhm.
now you mostly grew up here.
No, I actually came here 10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So I mostly grew up in the Bahamas. I came here at the end of 2011.
Would you
college.
say? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish.
Sorry, go ahead. I just came out
No,
of college, yeah.
I was just gonna say, do you think you and your parents are different,
Oh,
even
yeah.
though you come from the same place?
Oh yeah, I'm more athletic. I have never seen any of my parents picked up a weight in their life, and I obviously have known them my entire life, and I've never seen them exercise. I've never seen them picked up weight. I shoot pool. I enjoy shooting pool. They don't do it. I enjoy doing adventurous things. They don't want to do it. So, and I eat a lot. Like I used to eat on an average lifting 10,000 calories a day.
Wow.
And to them, it's like they might hit 2,000, 2,500 in a day, and or maybe 2,000, 3,000 a day, because that's just how they eat. And
How about the overall mentality of your parents?
now
versus
see,
you?
what I realized, what I got from my parents was, my father's a worker. Like, he would work all day and night. That's me. I can work all day and night. And my mother's a calm person, and I'm a calm person. So there were certain traits that I got, but I'm all going. I would speak to anybody. It didn't matter to me. And there were certain things. I got the entrepreneur mind from my father, but his own had a limit. With me, there is no limit.
Do you think that's part of also kind of growing up in more of a modern, world?
With technology and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, technology changed a lot of things if you apply yourself to it, So there are certain things that I see on social media, and I'm like, oh, wow, what's that, And so now I understand how my parents feel. Like, when I introduce them to something, like, what is that? I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And so these apps are coming out, and I see these people making these crazy videos, as if they are flying. I was like, hey, how did you do this? I mean, this
Your
used
phone
to...
you could do, right?
Exactly. One time ago when I grew up, this is only Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? Only Hollywood was allowed to produce movies.
Yeah.
Now anyone can produce it right from your cell phone. You used to have to buy expensive equipment, and so now
The
it's,
form of entertainment changed.
yes, a lot, yes.
I wanna. That's funny you bring that up because I was just thinking the other day to myself that like, our parents tell us to like, oh, how do you do this, or like on the phone or whatever,
Right.
and I wonder if like when we're that age, we're probably not gonna do that because we grew up with this, right? Because
I think you
if
will.
you think about it, it's like easy to learn how to use an app. It's just about wanting to do it.
Yes and no, because for instance, what happens when the metaverse becomes a normal thing? Are
Right.
we gonna know how to use it? You
Mhm.
know, like we're busy working and
We're
this
just
and
not gonna be
that, and then
interested
our
in it.
kids who are in school and have nothing to do after school are
They have
going to
more
be doing
time,
this.
right.
So if we ever need to enter the metaverse, which I hope it's never going to be a need,
Mhm.
I'm going to be like, hey, little Billy, or whatever my kid's name might be one day, and say, well, what do I do with this? How do I use this? How do I
Right.
go in there? You know what I mean? So it's possible. It depends on how it changes. But real quick, what I wanted to add was when so you said you were shy too
Mhm.
with women.
Yeah.
So what happened with me was I remember I had this complete character collapse when this one girl was talking to me. I was completely shut down, and I felt so embarrassed, and I yelled at myself internally like, "You're going to change." And that's the day I started forcing myself to become like I wanted to have that positive
So,
change.
what age did you say that you had your breaking point? What age was that? Your changing point, pretty much.
When I got more comfortable approaching and speaking to women,
Yeah.
I would say 18. So I worked on myself for those 3 years, building up that courage, building up that, you know what I mean? And that's the thing. Like, I don't know if a lot of people that are shy, if they have that in them. Like, do you think everybody, is it like, this is where the nature versus nurture question comes in. Does everybody have that willpower that they could access to fight that and to overcome that?
Me personally think that most people go through an insecure age, a point in time in their life when their insecurities is bigger than anything else. You can be older, you can be younger. You will have it. My daughter, again, 2 years old. She's 4. I bought her some clothes for gymnastic. I bought her 2-piece first. I thought it was nice. She put it on. She doesn't like how her navel looks, so she's embarrassed. I'm like, you're 4 years old. How are you insecure about your navel, So now I have to buy her a 1-piece so that she can feel comfortable going to gymnastic. Because when she's doing it, she's put a hand over her navel, and I was like, babe, just move your hand. So now for me to make her feel better to do this, I had to buy her 1-piece so she can actually do this without feeling so insecure around the other girls. And again, this is at 4 years old. I didn't start feeling my insecurity until maybe 10, 11, 12 years old.
When you were older,
Yeah,
yeah.
when older, when I really understood that. So yes, as little boys, you're kind of a little shy talking to girls. It's a normal thing, No one likes rejection. But like you, I had my breaking point. I'd say when I was 17, 18.
So 17, 18 is when you finally had the courage?
Much more of a courage.
And when did you feel like your lowest? Like my lowest point was 15 when I felt so defeated where I'm like, how about you? Did you have one of those
Oh
moments?
yeah, man. For years I suffered with it. I hated the way I look. I hated the way I talk. I hated everything about me. I just wanted to sit in the corner and tell people just leave me alone.
And then how did that change? Like what happened?
All right, so at 18, I started working at the Atlantis in the Bahamas, and part of my job is that I have to talk to guests, meet and greet them. And right before that, I was traveling playing baseball. And so around that same time, I had to. A lot of people, especially traveling to different countries, they would come to me and they're like, "Hey, can you sign my shirt? Can you sign my baseball? Can you do this?" And I was kind of like, "Okay, here it is." And then I came back and I started to realize, like, wait, they came to me to talk to me. They want to be around me. Why am I being shy to them? And I remember the girl. I was talking to myself one day and I was like, I really got to snap out of this, man. And this girl walked past me. She's coming towards me. She had these mint green eyes, and she was beautiful. Her name was Courtney. I remember her name. And she walked past me. It was like a word vomit. I just, hey. And she just stopped, and she just started talking to me. And we had a good conversation, and she left. And then I thought she wanted to talk to me just as much as I wanted to talk to her. Again, why am I being shy? So I had that moment like, you know what? Enough of this. This is enough. I should stop being like this. This is how I look. This is how I am. It is what it is. And from that moment, I stopped, and I started to dress differently, talk differently. I wouldn't say act differently, but I act a little more upfront and confident instead of stepping back, and being around the right crowd also too helps you out. And that was my breaking point.
All right, gentlemen, I just want to say we are out of time, but I will end with this. And this is something I don't want to discuss further because then we'll be here another hour. But what I wanted to say as far as you having that word vomit and saying, hey, I think a lot of times guys trap themselves and they're like, what should I say? What should I say? What clever line can I say to...
You could say, sorry to interrupt, but how many times have I asked you that over the last few years?
Yeah.
Until you said, yo, do it yourself.
Well, not just that, but it's not
like in a
what
good
you
way.
say, it's how you say it. If I go up to a girl at a nightclub, I'm like, hi. Or I'm like, oh, hey. I'm saying the same thing. It's how I'm saying it.
Depends, because I used to try to mimic what I rehearse in my head what I think I'm supposed to say. And she's going to say this, and I'm going to say this. But then if she does not fall in line with what I thought she's going to say, it becomes an awkward conversation. So I stopped doing that.
Right.
So I approach it based on the circumstances. Because if I say, hey, how you doing to the girl, her first immediate thing is, he's trying to talk to me.
Right.
So I stopped approaching them with the, hey, how you doing? Like, I had crazy ones. I would just say, hey, look, you know what, I like this shirt. Or you have a nice hairdo. Or just a small compliment. She would say something back. If I'm in a grocery store, I know I'm taller now because I'm 6'4". I would ask if she could reach something on the top shelf for me. I'm saying, can you reach that for me, please? And then she's looking at me like, hey, oh, you want me to reach it? You're taller than me. And so we would laugh at it. And then I would say something. She would say something. And then we have a small conversation, whatever stuff is. So I actually use my environment to say something or just speak straight up. Or if it's just what it is, I say, hey, look, I saw you and I really think you're beautiful. I don't mean to be so upfront with you, but I just had to formally introduce myself, and I will give my name. And to the one that gave their name, and then spark a conversation.
If you think about it real quick, I know you want to end, but yeah, I think that just the way you said it right now, that last part, at the end of the day, if you think about it, it's simple, it's straightforward. You just got to be yourself, you have to have that little bit like that confident approach, because like you said, girls want us to go up to them. I was watching episode, Friends, which I don't like that show at all, but the two girls there, they were on some movie set. They're like, oh, there's a guy there, whatever. We want him to approach us. And that's when it hit me, is like, they want to talk to you, but what throws people off, what throws a lot of guys off probably is when...
I think the rejection.
Yeah.
They're not certain. And
then they feel shy when you go up to them, and they might not react. They might not actually, like, talk back or whatever. And the guy's like, oh, why are they not responding to me? And they start to panic.
Right. So it's really tough to say, yeah. I got you.
I want to add to this, but I'm not. You know why? Because I was going to say, it was such a pleasure having you. How would you feel to come back one day in the near future and actually discuss this in a full podcast?
Oh, yeah, man. I love that. And I can go on about for hours.
On tape.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what? Dun, dun, dun. We're going to have to wait and find out. That's the only way. But anyway, if you guys want to say goodbye, starting with Avi.
See you later, guys.
All right.
All right, guys. Thank you. Have a good day.
All right. Until next time.